So what do you do when your knives just aren't cutting it? I'll explain, don't worry. Now, when you get a new laser, it's gonna come with this really nice, silvery, shiny honeycomb bed. However, the more you cut, the more black residue is gonna get put onto that bed from the material. It's just the way it works. It's inconvenient, but it happens almost instantaneously, and you gotta deal with it somehow. You can also take this bed out. And the reason is that maybe you wanna cut on the knives underneath. Yes, that's what we call these strips of metal underneath the laser. I'll give you a better look here. You can see that when you open it up, the honeycomb bed rests on top of, yes, what I'm calling these knives. And you can cut material on there. However, if it's smaller pieces, they're just gonna fall through and you can catch them from this tray. Sometimes they get lost as well. So in this video, I'm gonna detail how you can make your own knife bed that you can put on top of the honeycomb. That way you don't have to move it around. It's pretty heavy, I will tell you that. We're gonna start by putting some reference points into the honeycomb. I have some dowels here that basically tell me where to put the piece of material to make it easier for me for alignment purposes. I then take these big tool holding magnets from Harbor Freight and I use those to hold the piece down. Not necessary, but sometimes when your plywood is a little bit bendy, these really help. Now on to some time lapse of what we're gonna make. This is basically a grid of plywood that's gonna have some box joints and some really tight slots. Check this out. This is where the knives are gonna rest. And I will say this is a big 130 watt laser, a CO2 laser to be exact. And to do precision cuts of this magnitude is pretty darn awesome. Check that out. These lasers are great for cutting wood, acrylic, and even things like cardboard. Here's kind of a side project I was making. Anybody want to guess what exactly I'm doing here? Throw your answer down in the comments. Also, real quick, I'm gonna pop in here to tell you, if you're not familiar with what I do, I got a pinned comment down there, and if you're catching this video today, the link to the website, there's also a code that'll save you 25% your entire order. Check it out. Back to the video. All right, with these pieces all cut out, let's go ahead and build this thing. This is a simple box joint that's gonna go together to form a grid, and also I've got a bunch of these strips of stainless steel. I'll tell you where I got those in just a minute. Pretty cool. They're actually custom. Anyway, we're gonna join this together. I'm gonna use a little bit of this quick setting glue, and I realize this joint is really tight, so don't need that glue. We're just gonna go ahead and compression fit these in there. I'm using a dead blow to take my time and build this just like so, but I will say that I didn't quite foresee this issue happening. I guess I could have made these box joints just a little bit looser, but I was having an issue with them staying all the way down. So I'm gonna implore what most people would do. Yeah, a little clamp. Not too big a deal. Just kind of squeeze those joints together, get those all the way down, and if you need to, leave it clamped, and then I'm gonna take every joint and reinforce them with some pin nails. So like I said, with every joint having a pin nail in it to keep it steady, it's dead flat, which is a pretty nice feeling. Now on to putting some of these metal strips in. Now, you can buy strips like this at your local big box store, but they're not gonna have probably the size you need. So I got these custom made. You might be thinking, wasn't that hugely expensive? It was actually less expensive to buy 50 of these strips custom cut, and I got these cut at a place called Metal Supermarkets. They're a franchise, and we happen to have one here in Northeast Florida. I simply typed in ChatGPT, where can I find custom cut metal, and it brought me here. This isn't sponsored by them, but I think if you're a maker, it's worth to know this is something you might want to check out. Pretty cool experience. A guy named Eric brought me in the back, and he said, look, I'm going to show you all these machines, these brakes, these shears, and we just worked through it, and we came up with the right dimensions that we needed. It was a really cool experience. There's going to be a link to them in the description below. Now I had some scrap plywood that's been doubled up, so this is about 1.25 inches thick. And quite frankly, I cut these into little pieces because I need a really good handle when I'm gonna put this in and out of the laser. So we're just gonna glue this to the side, tack it in with some brad nails, and we're good to go. Now, this step is not necessary, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm putting all of these blades right up against a flat surface clamped to my workbench. And you can see there's some gaps, so we're gonna fix that. We're gonna go ahead and hammer these home to be dead even with each other. And then I'm gonna test them with a level. And this was super cool. The fact that all of these custom cut blades were dead level once they were installed. And then of course I'm putting in a dab of CA glue on just a few sections there to keep them held in place. And now it's a great fit. Check that out. So here is the true test. We're gonna put a piece of material down, and I'm gonna use a AAA battery as a spacer between the laser nozzle and the material. See that? Yep. Then we're gonna do it at all four corners, and guess what? It was dead level everywhere. So I gotta give myself a pat on the back. So why would you wanna make your own set of knives to go in your laser bed on top of the honeycomb instead of just pulling that honeycomb out? One, it's a big laser. If you have a big one, it is tough. Those things are extremely heavy and they're actually pretty fragile. They don't have much structural integrity either. So it's best just to leave them in place and then place something down that gives you the option. And two, you can actually control the distance between the knives, which helps me in terms of what I need for pieces not falling down and getting lost and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's why I did it. Truth be told, another reason why I did it is a thing called flashback. Let me explain. So what is flashback? I'm going to give you some examples here, but basically it happens when the laser beam reflects off the cutting bed or material underneath the workpiece and bounces back up, causing unintended damage to the underside of your material. Now what it can cause are burn marks or scorch marks on the back of your material, visible open quote ghost lines that appear from the cutting bed surface, reduced part quality, or ruined cuts, especially on clean finished surfaces like wood or acrylic. Speaking of acrylic, here you go. Look at the difference between these two. One was cut on the knives that I made, and one was cut on the honeycomb. Can you guess which one? Yeah, you guessed it. On the left, the knives. The right, the honeycomb. So we've got our knives installed, and we're cutting down some white 1/8" acrylic. Here is basically the difference. I'm going to show you the ones I cut on the honeycomb, and I'm going to show you the ones that were just cut right here on this new knife bed. Definitely a much needed improvement. Yeah, check that out. Look at the difference. Pretty insane. So yeah, I would say this project was an absolute success. You can see it's already got some markings on it, and of course somebody wants to say, hi. She's adorable. That thing works beautifully. Glad I made it, and you should make one for yourself if you're already well versed in laser operations. And if you're not, I suggest you look into it if you're interested. Check out these guys, Thunder Laser, great company, great lasers, good machines, they're built like tanks, highly recommended. Also, if you want to see anything else that we're doing, I offer about 40 different maker products to help you get organized. They're going to be down there below as well. And I thank each and every one of you for watching. You guys take care, and I'll see you on that next one.